Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out-of-state trip or need top-notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family-owned, band director-run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress-free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
Every year on my holiday tour, everybody was waiting for the pompoms and the cartwheels. And so...
okay, wait, hold on. You say cartwheels?
Yes. Blue Ridge Saga.
Oh, no.
I love Blue Ridge Saga. I do not think that piece is played enough. I'm just telling you. And if the kids are not having fun, you have to make your learning environment so fun that they want to come back to it. And they shouldn't want to come back because, oh, I'm getting the best education here. Oh, I'm getting better. They should come back because they know that it's a place that's really fun and that they're accepted for who they are.
Hello and welcome back to Band Yap. I am Alexa Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
And you know what? I've been looking forward to this for a really long time because we have two very important and exciting people here with us today. We have Mr. Robert Herrings and Robin Wilson. Welcome to both of you.
Maybe one important person, Robin.
Oh, no. You're important to me, Robin.
Oh, thank you.
Quite wonderful people.
My origin story. You're important.
Okay. I'll take it.
Well, this is our first podcast that has multiple people on at the same time. So we're gonna try some things out. So let's go ahead and start with Robert. Robert, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, education, teaching experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I grew up in McGregor, Texas, which is right outside of Waco, Texas. And I went all K through 12 there. After graduation from McGregor High School, I went to Baylor University, where I got a bachelor's degree in music education. And my first job was actually in Rockdale, Texas for 1 year. And then after that first year in Rockdale, Texas, the road rep actually found me and said, I think you should go to Leander. There is a job opening at this Henry Middle School. And so I went and applied in Leander ISD and got the job at Henry Middle School, where I was there for 20 years. And after the 20 years, I have just left Henry Middle School, and I'm now next door or just across the parking lot, teaching all the kids that I started in 6th grade now at Vista Ridge High School.
So your first teaching experience was in a small school. So like right now you teach in a quote unquote large school, but what was that experience like teaching in Rockdale? Because I know that community and I know that area pretty well, and that is very different from where you are currently at.
Yes. Well, I will say this. I was young, and I think there was a lot of things that I just didn't know. So I was eagerly excited about going into the job, and but it was very different than what I teach now. I mean, I'll even go as far as to say, like, I would pick up kids. Like, now I lived in Austin, and I would drive 1 hour to Rockdale every day, and I would pick up kids on the way to work to go to like sectionals or go to work to rehearsal. So, which is totally different than what I would do now or what would even be allowed in Leander ISD. But it was definitely an experience that I'm appreciative of. It was one of those where I had like all woodwinds in one class, all brass in one class. So you were learning really fast how to teach instruments and how to maximize the time that you had in front of you, or the time that you had with the kids in front of you. So I am very thankful for that. I also got a little bit of marching band experience during that time because I did middle school and high school. So I'm thankful for that experience of marching band before it got into this craziness that it is now, especially on the 6A level. But that being said, the experience of teaching there really taught me a lot and helped me. It was like a stepping stone into what I'm doing now. But having those experiences grew me as a teacher and made me stronger and better for the jobs that came before me in years after.
So did you experience the Yo Rockdale rivalry?
I did, actually. It was a real thing. And when I say it's like real, like it's like serious. And so, but yeah, I did. It was a lot of fun. I was a little like, whoa, what is all this at the very beginning? But it was really, really fun in the end.
So because from there are rivalries nowadays, but from what I've heard, that rivalry between CHO and Rockdale, it's like intense hatred.
Oh my
Like it's
gosh.
like really,
Yes.
it's like CHO does like a car smash for it
Yes.
and all this kind of other stuff. Like, and it gets like pretty intense. And like you're originally from McGregor, and
Yes.
how large is McGregor?
Well, back in the day, we were old in the old classification. We were 2A. And then I think my senior year, we became 3A. Is that pretty accurate, Robin? I think that's right.
We were actually a 3A my very first year that I taught. And that first year, boy, that was an introduction into small school football because we made it to the state championship. And we lost, but we made it. And I think we kind of went back and forth between 3A and 2A a couple of times. I was there for 9 or 10 years. And so we kind of bounced back and forth.
I know they're currently 3A.
Current three,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and then you made your way over to Henry Middle School, where you're there for a long period of time. And if people don't know who you are, and I will say this, Robert, you were very humble when I interacted with you about like how great you are, and you're, fantastic band director. You're like, I try to be really humble. I hate it when people say that. So, if you are a listener of this podcast, Robert does not like any of his awards to be thrown up into the air for him to pluck out. So, he's very humble in that, just because he just wants to be recognized for just being a nice person first and foremost. So FYI. So Robin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I kind of did a little
Tell
bit.
us everything, Robin.
Let's see. My history started a lot longer ago, so we'll go a lot farther. Now, Robert said that he went to Baylor, and I actually started at Baylor as an undergrad, but I transferred from Baylor because let's just say that my studio teacher and I just weren't a good fit. And ironically, I transferred, and then the next year, the teacher who was there forever came. But I went to Texas Tech and got my bachelor's there. And then my very first teaching job that I got maybe 2 days before summer band started was McGregor. In fact, my high school director here in Waco, I'm from Waco, went to Waco Richfield, which is now Waco High, that campus. But my director, unfortunately, is no longer living. But I had seen him out mowing his yard one day, and I had graduated from college, and he says, "You should go to TBA." And so I went to TBA and talked to different people, tried to get some interviews set up, and they told me, "Oh, you should meet the guy from McGregor." And I never ran into him until on my way to the parking lot. And so set up an appointment, and I had an interview, and a few days later I was at summer band. And then taught there for, can't remember if it was, I want probably 9 years, I guess. And then got out of teaching for a little while, 3 or 4 years, well, maybe more than that. And ended up working for an educational software company. I'd kind of gotten into computers and things like that, and just really loved that job. In fact, spent most of my career working in that job. And I would dabble back into a band every once in a while, but I've always kind of been band adjacent, but just kind of really seemed to do better working with computers and things. So I actually, when I got one of my times I dabbled, that's when I met Alexa. When I got in Axtell, and Susan, who is still in Axtell, actually taught Robert, and when we worked together at McGregor, and that's where I met her. And then there have been different times over the years I've gone and helped her and worked with kids, worked with bands and things like that. And I want to say that when I went to Axtell, it was because of a conversation I had with Robert. I don't know if you remember. I kind of remember you telling me that Susan was looking for
That's correct.
and I was like, interested. And there I was, and that's where I met Alexa. Of course, that was your senior year, I think, right?
It was, yeah.
and didn't end up staying there full time, but actually stayed and helped Susan for about 3 or 4 years after that until my mom kind of got to where she needed more help, and so I moved in with her, and it was just couldn't do it anymore. And then she got a little bit better, had some help for her, and then that's when I taught at Midway for a year, and
Also with me.
ran into Alexa. But yeah, probably by the time the end, I only was at Midway teaching beginners. At the end of that year, my mom really was where she just really needed somebody full time. So I stopped teaching for a while until she passed away, and now I've kind of done a few other little things here and there, but now I work for a technology consulting company. And I work in marketing, do a lot of graphics and page layout and stuff like that, which is another way I've stayed connected to Robert. So I'm
Yes.
sure we'll talk about that too.
Yes.
Big reason why we wanted to have both of you on is because we wanted to highlight the impact and the relationship band directors have on their students, and how big things can come from small beginnings. And so this podcast has been centered around small schools. And Robert, you currently teach in a big dog, as they would say, but we wanted to highlight how a lot of your origin and probably a lot of the things that you do and you're associated with probably comes from what you experience as a student at a smaller school. So, and as far as we've been told, you're very intelligent. Robin's doted on you a whole lot when you weren't on the video. So like
She's kind.
She is kind.
I speak the truth.
And so like that's another reason why we wanted both of you on the podcast, because that relationship that we build inside band doesn't just last when, people leave our band halls. It can last for much longer than that. I mean, decades. Just those kind of moments of like, what are your kids going to remember about you whenever they're done with quote unquote being done with band. So this relationship is a testament to that, so we really appreciate y'all taking the time for that. So Robert, why band?
I grew up in a family. I started playing piano when I was 5 years old. I think a lot of people don't know that. And I was very involved in piano. My grandparents were the musicians at the church in my hometown. And so I grew up at a very early age, just tinkering around on the piano. And then I started taking it a little bit more seriously. And then as I entered junior high, I joined band. And once I got into band, I realized how much I really loved it. And I also felt like it was a place where I could be myself. I think for a long time, I was not a kid that was like a sports kid. Like my brother was very into sports and into art. And, he was doing so many things, but I was not an athletic kid. So I knew I was good at piano. So when I wanted to do band, when I went in, and I wasn't sure what I was going to play. But I tried to have an open mind and open heart as I went and did my testing and got all the instrument selection. And then as I got into band, I had great teachers, that I felt really comfortable. I felt like I could be myself, and I fell in love with the music. And I'm just going to say this, Robin was my middle school band director, and she picked all the music that I loved. And it was like, I still remember like Soldiers Procession. It was so great. Like we played so much great music. And it was just such a fun time. And I remember leaving, like I would go to other classes. Like I still remember my history class, social studies. And I absolutely did not like that class because I never had the same feeling that I had when I was in band. And I felt like I could like really express who I was and I could be myself. And when I was going into high school and beyond, I remember after my 6th grade year, we were having dinner at home. And I remember looking at my mom and I just said, because for leading up all the way through 6th grade, I was going to be what I called a baby doctor. I'm going to deliver babies. I want to be a baby doctor. And my mom always said, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. And I still remember having that conversation with her where I said, I actually want to be a band director. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, if that's what you want to do, we're going to support you. And I said, okay. And I was on that track all the way through from like 6th grade on, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I just poured my heart and soul into it. And I knew that when I went to college and came out, I always said, I just want to create an environment for my kids that they have the same feeling that I do. I also love music, and I want to share my passion that I have for music with others. And it doesn't matter in what setting, small school, big school, whatever it is, I just want kids to have the same experience that I had in that class, but also leave as lovers of music, whether or not they're going to go into music or not. But like, go to the symphony concerts, play in community band, do the thing, put your kids in band, all of the things. That was really important to me because those are the experiences that I had when I was growing up. So I wanted to be sure that I created those same experiences for students that were around me. So that's really the reason why I went into band. Some people said, is that the thing you think you could only do? And I was like, no, I actually think I could have done a lot of things, but I chose to do that because it was just where my heart was and my passion. And to this day, I often think, like, if I were going to leave teaching, what would I do? Well, then I get sad thinking about actually leaving teaching. However, if I did leave, I'd be a clinician. But outside of that, I just think I felt like I was put on earth to teach and to share my love and passion for music. So that's really why I went into band. And again, it did start really at an early age. I think having that experience with piano was great, but I also had a really great time in middle school band. Or junior high band. It was a lot of fun. So we had a good time. My 8th grade class was good.
So Robin, you have a direct hand in that experience. What steps did you have in order to control someone like Robert in your class? And I'm going to use the word control because if anyone knows Robert, he's a very much larger than life personality. And so I can only imagine what that was like as a teenager.
He just told you how much he loved band. And so it's kind of funny. People joke about things like that. Oh, he's larger than life, or he's, he loved band. He just wasn't difficult to deal with. I didn't have to control him. He was focused. That's where he was. That's where he was best. While he's talking, and I was like, yeah, I could have told you he was going to be a band director when he was in 6th grade. I just knew it. This is the kid who, and I may be getting the years wrong, Robert, so you might need to correct me because remember, I'm old. But this is the student who in middle school on his own organized ensembles to play at places in town for Christmas. You remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
He wanted to play every instrument he could play. I was in grad school at Baylor, just kind of, I could only mostly take classes in the summer at the time, but every once in a while I'd take like one class that was maybe an independent study or something during a semester. And so I did a lot of stuff where I'd write arrangements and stuff like that. I used to love to do that. And I wrote a brass ensemble that Robert played in. And Robert, I crowned him with many crowns. I just thought of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Until just now. And then I wrote one for the Woodwinds too, which actually was It Is Well With My Soul. Very similar to On a Hymn Song of Philip Bliss. And Robert wanted to play clarinet on that one.
Yeah.
And when I was telling them, Robert, before we started, that I had this very distinct just memory of when you were in high school. And remember we did the James Bond show. And I just picture in my mind of you just beating the heck out of the xylophone on. So, yeah, he's just one that if he didn't know it, I sure did.
So were you involved in any other things other than band, like UIL events or anything?
No. I mean, I did UIL music memory and Robin was our coach. And I will tell you this, our music memory team was good and we won. It was such a good team. I still have this picture of us with this cake and I had this afro. Oh my God. It was so
Well, come on, it was the 90s.
It was. We did have big hair. Yeah. No, honestly, I really wasn't. I did, outside of school, I did my piano studies. And then I was also one of those kids that was very big on like making good grades. That was really important to me. So I did a lot of studying. And then I did, we did UIL music memory. But outside of that, I really didn't, I didn't do sports or anything like that, only because I just wasn't built to be a sports person kind of, in that sense. And also I think, and this is true for a lot of kids, I think they try to find their own way. And I think for myself, I was kind of the music person, and my brother was so sports driven. And while he was involved in music, it wasn't his forte. And I wanted to have my own path, and I think he wanted to have his own path. So we kind of both did our things and just had support from our family on both of our events, throughout that. But it was really important to me to be different than my brother, only because I didn't want us to be compared to each other. And so, yeah. So outside of that, really, I really didn't, unless you include, talking on the phone with my friends, but gossiping with my friends on the phone. That's
Social butterfly. Yeah.
yeah.
So okay, so how did small school kind of mold some of your educational foundation, or just kind of the way you approach things?
I think the one thing that and I don't mean this in any negative way at all. The one thing I don't really like about the large school is kids really do have to make a decision. And sometimes they have to make that decision really early. And I remember when I taught middle school, I had kids that were going from seventh to eighth that would have to make a decision. And it would really break my heart because, they really were good at music and they really loved it. But because of the rigor and the drive and just the way that the large school is set up, it just didn't allow us the opportunity for those kids to be able to experience all of the things that like students in the small school get to experience. And that's one of the things I loved about small school is it was a juggling act sometimes, and it was a lot of figuring out schedules and how to make it work. But the cool thing was everybody was able and willing to work with each other so that the kids were able to experience a lot of things. And so, as I get to high school, or as I'm in this part of my life and teaching in the large school, I still try to be mindful that kids have other things outside of band that they're really interested in and that they really like. And I try to support those, within reason, right? And there are some things where we have to draw the line and say, no, you have to make a decision. I know you can't do that. But I really try to be open-minded and have an open heart, with those kids so that they can still continue. Like even in my top one ensemble right now, I have a lot of kids who swim. I have a lot of kids on the track team, and I have a lot of kids that are in theater, and I thought that would never happen in my high school level. But I've learned from my middle school experience, if you just sit with adults in a room and talk about it, you can kind of sometimes figure things out where kids, they may not be able to do all the things, but we should still be providing kids with experiences because they really don't know what I feel like kids are always searching for who they are and how they fit into the world and, that kind of thing and their personal identity. And so I feel like making kids choose really early kind of, almost, sends them on one path. And I hate that for kids often. But that's what I think the middle teaching in small school really helped me understand is like really help the kids try to figure out where they belong and create opportunities for them to be able to have experiences that they might not be able to have in other situations. Um, Also, I think, teaching in the small or growing up small school gave me a true, real passion because it's different what we did in small school versus what we're doing in large school. Not to say one is greater or worse than the other, but I think those experiences in the small school helped shape my educational vision for what I wanted to provide for my kids through the musical journey as they came through my program. Just thinking back on all of my own personal experiences and how I wanted those experiences for those kids to have those same experiences, but how can I achieve that in our current setting? So I think that, the small school is monumental in why I'm here today. And I also think, I have a lot of colleagues that grew up in like the large school system. And some of them are very jaded about just how, I shouldn't say jaded, but just their experience in their high school, middle school is so different than what I experienced. And so I'm thankful for the experience that I had because I believe it really put me on the path that I'm on right now, which allows me to create, these environments and situations and for my students that they wouldn't get in other places. And it's not like that at every high school either, in the large school system. It's really not. So, and I think some people look at me and think that I'm a little bit crazy for some of the things that I do, but I also want to ensure that our kids have a well-rounded education and have the experience to try a lot of things because they just don't know where their niche is yet. They're still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, how many people that grew up in those large school systems still have the relationship that you currently have with Robin, their middle school band director, or even Alexa? Like, Alexa's like relationship with Robin is special, and that's because how long was Robin your band director, Alexa?
1 year.
1 year.
That's all.
So it's the same thing kind of with Jesus, because he was my band director in 7th and 8th grade, and then Robin was my band director when I was a senior. And the interesting thing is that Robin taught with Susan Young at McGregor, where they found Robert. And then Robin and Susan also taught together at Axtell. So I got
They
like
did.
I got the same like director team there going on, which I feel is pretty unusual to have that happen at 2 different places, especially so many like years apart. But that is so fun.
So, Robin, what do you think kept your relationship with Robert going so strong?
I was trying to remember if there were a certain thing, certain something that got us kind of back together, I'll say, because I taught him in middle school. Of course, I was there in high school, and we were a 2A school, so I was there at football games and everything. And I think when I left McGregor, Robert, were you a sophomore, I think?
I was a sophomore. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually moved out of town for a while. And I'm trying to remember how we reconnected, but I know I have a vague recollection, and you'll probably remember more of this, I think, than I do. When I was working for the software company, weren't you involved? I worked for a company that the owner had a foundation in which he raised funds for, supported all kinds of different, he called them ministries. Some of them were religious, some of them were not. But he actually had one of his foundation things helped kids with scholarships. And I remember telling Robert about it and maybe getting him connected. I was trying to remember, is that the certain thing that kind of got us back in touch? Or
I think that is what connected us again. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you reached out and were telling me about that. And then I looked into it and applied, did all the things. Yeah.
And just, I guess being, in town, we might run into each other occasionally, but I guess we connected then and then sort of didn't see each other again for a while. But I guess when we really kind of picked up and haven't stopped is when I started doing programs. I had done a job where the company wanted me to, they had a newsletter that they sent out to clients, and it was, your typical 4, 6, 8-page newsletter, and they wanted to turn it into a magazine. And so that was my job, and I had to learn how to lay out a magazine. And I found out I was actually pretty good at it. Now I look at some of my early ones and they probably didn't look so good, but I started doing page layout and got pretty good at it. And Robert and I don't know how we connected, but he was getting ready to take his band to Seattle. That's the Western, right? Western
International. Yeah.
And I didn't do the program for that because he'd already done it, but I did a shorter one for their send-off. And then, I guess it was Midwest the next year, wasn't it? Or shortly thereafter? Is that the first big program?
Yeah, that was the first big one. Yep.
Yeah, so we've probably done, somebody asked me how many I had done for you, and I don't even know, but it's close to 20.
It's a lot.
Robin, I feel like so many people have seen your work and they don't even realize it. Like, so many people have held your programs in their hands and they don't even realize that you were like the force behind everyone's like honor band programs, Midwest programs, all that kind of thing. That's amazing.
When they'll email me, because I do almost all of this by email. Some people want to talk on the phone, but it's like, oh, I saw the program you did for, there's like, I won't name them, but there's probably 4 specific programs that get mentioned more than any. Of course, Robert's are 2 of them. But it's like, oh, I saw your so-and-so program at Midwest, and I want mine to look like that. And people I've never met before, people Robert's never met before in some cases, but I would say a lot of them have come through people he knows. But yeah, it's quite a little niche. I wish I could do it year round, but
yeah,
it's very seasonal.
You know, it's funny, and I've never really thought about this before, but I've kept in contact with you forever, like since I graduated high school, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
graduated in 2010, so it's been like 15 years. But I remember like you were always like designing things, and when you worked for the software company and that kind of thing, you were always like an illustrator and that kind of thing. And that's like one of I when people ask like what my soft skills are, like that's usually one thing that I list is like, oh, I can do graphics and like that sort of thing. And I really like that comes from you. And I don't think I've ever like connected that before, but that is 100% true because you were always doing that. And like I used to like kind of send you some stuff like if I was working on it and you'd be like, well, have you tried this? And so I like that 100% my soft skill that I use constantly. And that comes from you.
Okay. Never know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, like once again, it everything comes back full circle at some time or another, and that's just once again like the influence we have as band directors will not just last until they leave our band hall door, but will last until like they're well into their careers, and so yeah, that's just really a testament to what we do. Robert, is there any specific memory that you cherish more than others from when you were in like junior high, middle school, or high school band?
Well, I think there are two. I think there's one that's really funny. Robin was teaching class, and anyways, okay. Let me just say this: I was the kid in class that liked to lean back in my chair, and
Oh
I would lean back,
no.
and all the time, and she'd be like, both, all the legs of the chair need to be on the floor, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And then one time, and I was leaning back, and one time I literally leaned back so far that I fell straight backwards. Well, Robin had turned around, and then she would turn back around, and at this point, I had already fallen onto the floor.
Straight up in the air.
And I will never forget that ever in my life.
I tried
And
really hard not to laugh. I really did pretty well for a while.
you did. And then I think everybody laughed. And I was so embarrassed. Speaking of that,
People look at me. People look at Robert. People look at me. People look at Robert. And then I just lost it.
Sometimes
Oh
you
my
just need
God.
permission from the teacher
Yeah,
to
was-
laugh first.
yes, yeah.
Did you hold on to your trumpet?
I did.
Oh, that's what matters.
Yeah, I sure did. You better believe that.
Was this still in the McGregor band hall that was connected to the ag facility?
Yes. Well, no, this is
Look
when
at
I was in
the-
junior high.
Oh,
Yeah,
this one in junior high. Okay.
Yeah. But that, I don't know if it's still connected or not because I haven't been there in a minute, but it used to be
Totally different
connected.
now. You wouldn't recognize it now.
That's crazy. But yeah, that was in middle school or junior high. I think in high school, though, I think we had a really special year, and it was the year that Susan had her first kid, and Robin was there. And Susan obviously had to leave. We were doing an Elvis show, and we made it to state that year, and it was just really special. And I still remember, like, Robin, like, was so great. And then Susan left, and then Robin, like, totally stepped up, and it was, like, awesome. You could totally tell she was stressed out, but it was so great because she totally gave, like, 200,000% to all the kids, and every kid in that band program knew that Robin was doing all of that work for us. And I still remember us being on the field. I actually remember, like, being in the huddle, and, like, you read a letter that Susan had written to us. And then I still remember, like, being on the field, and they called us to attention, and I heard pride, the balloons went up, all the things. And then
no balloons.
yeah, I know. And then I still remember, like, seeing at the very top of the stadium, like, this, like, person sitting up there, and it was, like, Susan, apparently, at the end. I didn't even know that.
Did you know that? I never saw her that day.
You did? And, like, she, like, scooted out across the thing, watched the band, and then left.
You had the baby like 3 days before. Something like
It's, like, crazy. But I still remember all of that. And those are two really special memories. I laugh about the chair one all the time. And I tell my students literally all the time. And just the other day, believe it or not, I fell out of my conductor's chair at school. And
were you holding your pom-poms?
I was not. I was going to turn the metronome
He was
on
doing a
because the
full
band was
routine.
not playing in time. So I was going to reach over to turn the metronome on, and the welding of the chair came unwelded, and I fell off in the middle of rehearsal. And, like, keep in mind, these are, like, juniors and seniors. And, like, literally, like, I fall, and then you could hear, like, all the kids are like, oh my God. And then the whole room, like, erupts in laughter, right? And so I'm like, oh my God, I was so
Similar.
embarrassed. But yes, those are the two memories that, that really stick to me a lot. I really love those.
That is the most like Susan Young story that I've ever heard. Like if you could explain Susan in a nutshell, like
Yeah.
that is it. That's it. That encapsulates it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's been a workhorse over at Axtell. How long has she been over at Axtell now?
I don't even know.
Gosh.
When I started at the software company was 97. So that's when she went back to Axtell. And she had been there before.
Yeah, so I don't know how long she's taught. It's got to be over 40 years, but yeah.
Well,
She looks good.
Yeah.
She is
Oh,
5 years older than I am, and I will turn 60 this year. So,
yeah, she's
You don't look over a day over 35, Robin.
oh, good answer.
Okay, now tell me. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Robert, were you the best musician in your band?
I don't know. That's kind of arrogant to say.
The answer is yes.
I mean, there were some good ones. I mean,
Very talented students.
yeah, Jennifer Moore, who's now Jennifer. I don't even know what her last name is now.
Borders.
Yes, Borders. Jennifer Borders. She was very talented, and I mean, I remember when she went to audition for music school, I was actually her piano accompanist at her SFA audition, and so she was very talented. I think we had pockets of really talented kids, or special in each section. There was like, this kid is really good, that kid is really good. I still remember one of my friends that I'm still friends with now, never tongued, and I would get so mad at him, like, how do you like throat everything? Like he just, God's like, use your tongue, child. But outside of that,
for never tonguing.
yeah, I know, for real. But yeah, but I will say, I mean, not in an arrogant way. I've worked really hard, so
many of them.
Yeah. So I was a good musician. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever make the Syntax Honor Band?
I did. And I still have those programs, actually. I have them in a filing cabinet, and I hold on to them. Yeah.
Those are a treasure.
Yes.
Well, he'll send me a picture of something he's come across, like a program from a band concert we did or something like
that.
That's so cute.
That ensemble is so undervalued in a lot of ways, because I remember when from what I've heard, that it used to be an all Central Texas thing, and then the 4As peeled away from it, or the 3As peeled away from it, and it left the 1As and 2As to it. And then now with their new structuring, it's 1A, 2A, 3A.
It was actually for our school. First of all, I remember auditioning, and there were kids from like Robinson and probably like Gatesville and that kind of stuff when I was very early in the band. But that kind of like fizzled after a while. But that was it. It was actually a rule in our high school. You had to make the Syntax Honor Band before you were allowed to audition for Region Band. Like that was like the stepping stone.
And that contest was always so brutal, because it was like the weekend or the weekend before, the weekend after
Syntax.
Yeah. It was, the auditions were like the weekend after, like all region.
Yeah.
So you would audition.
There was also not a very long turnaround time after that before the concert.
It was like a week. Yeah. And Syntax had a sight reading portion to it.
Sure did.
And so that was like, and that's something I feel like is very undervalued. Mm-hmm. It's like, you want to find out who your musicians are? Let's do a little bit of sight reading and find out real fast.
That's actually, for when I was in high school, they don't host it anymore, but it was hosted at McGregor High School for all 4 years that I was there. And I'd like rehearse or whatever in the band hall, and there were pictures of Susan and I believe Robin the band hall, and we would like, oh, there's Miss Young on the wall, because it was in the band hall. But yeah.
Robert, are there any friendships from Syntax Honor Band that you hold dear to you?
I think there were. I mean, I had some friends from my school that made Syntax Honor Band, and then I believe throughout time, I actually have some friends that teach in small schools still, believe it or not, that were in Syntax Honor Band, and I've been able. The cool thing about it is I've been able to help them in their current teaching positions over the years, with just, knowledge that I have, or, different ways of thinking about things. So I would say 1 or 2, 3 maybe, that are really, pretty close, outside of the group that I grew up with.
Oh, didn't you meet your bestie at Syntax?
Yeah, I was given a name, the name being Ryan Stratton.
I know. I was trying not to say all the names. I was trying to be okay. So let's talk about Ryan Stratton.
Okay, well, Robert,
Here we go. No, Ryan. Listen, I met Ryan Stratton through the Syntax Honor Band process, and then obviously being in the Syntax Honor Band, and he and I, he's literally like my best friend on the whole planet. He's a hot mess, and I love him, and I hope he hears this podcast because he'll be mad that I said that. But he is. But probably one of the most special relationships, and it was definitely through music, and that's again the power of music. Brings people together. And so, but yeah, my best friend, of all these years now is Ryan Stratton, and we met there and fought together. I mean, we competed against each other big time, and it was like, who's going to be first chair? He went to West High School.
West High School.
Texas.
West, Texas. Yep.
You know they do that on their football uniforms?
It says the
It
comma.
says the comma
Yeah.
on their
I'm
football
sure.
uniforms.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
I'm sure.
Like, I didn't believe it. And then I went.
I showed it to you.
Yeah. It was like, what? It has the comma.
Well, because I don't think you knew about that before we talked about it. Because where I went to school was like right next to West, and so that was always the thing. Is like, oh, the comma. But yeah, they put it on their.
Yeah,
football
because you can't say West Texas because
No,
then
'cause
everyone's all
then-
like, where in
then
West
everybody-
Texas?
Yeah.
Lubbock?
Yep. Panhandle.
Yeah.
Post. They really do have some names out there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. No trees.
No trees.
No trees, but they got some
trees.
names.
Yeah.
Northern Odessa or past Odessa, I think. It is appropriately named too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Ryan Stratton, what? Let me ask you this: what partially made that relationship so special, other than the fact that you were apparently both trumpet players?
I think that we just connected in a way, like that was like a person that I saw that was different than me. And I will say this, being, I had a lot of African American friends, and I also had, Caucasian friends as well. But he was also someone that was like me, but of a different ethnicity, and so we were able to connect in that way, which I thought was really cool. We both were very talented at our instruments, and we were both very competitive, but we had a lot of the same likes in life. And I think that connected us in a way that was different than I had with some of my other friends, because I always felt like, honestly, that I was kind of my own, like, oddball. And I always kind of think to myself, like, I'm just weird. That's what I say all the time. I'm like, I'm just weird. Right. And I felt like he was the same weird level as me. And so it ended up flourishing into a really great friendship. And we've shared a lot of life together. I'll just say that. But I love that guy.
And yes, I have done a program for Ryan too.
Yes, you have.
Well, like, once again, it comes back to like how often can you say like, oh, I've had a friendship with this person since junior high, and it's still the same friendship. Like I have a friend that God love her. Her name is Rachel.
Mhm.
Rachel Williams. Her last name was Bonner, and growing up outside of Corpus Christi, we were 98% Hispanic. So there are a lot of, you could throw a rock and hit another Jose at least 5 times. That's just the way it worked. At least everyone was related. Everyone had the same last name, Gonzalez. When I went to Baylor. I don't think I've ever told you the story. When I went to Baylor, I wore one of my my high school marching shows, T-shirt to Bug Wub rehearsal, and I had somebody ask me, "Oh, is that your family reunion shirt?"
My.
Sanchez,
Yeah,
Gonzalez,
like there
Hernandez.
was 15 Garcias in a row. I mean, what do you expect? So.
I can see that.
But poor Rachel. Rachel is extremely Caucasian. And not only is she extremely Caucasian, she's extremely redheaded. And not just like a little bit redheaded. I mean like flaming bright red. Not the dark red. Like bright red. So therefore, like she was valedictorian of our class. So she was extremely Caucasian, redheaded, had to like super smart. And we became best friends. And like, even now, if she called me up right now, it'd be like we never left each other's side. And she was the president of like the choir, and I was drum major of the band. And so like we connected and we're able to stay connected all these years, and we talk about choir and we talk about band every now and then. But like those relationships are like becoming far and few between nowadays. So
Well,
it's just like it's awesome to hear that.
I have a friendship from the Syntax Honor Band. It's still going strong to this day. But Justin, I met him in Syntax. So Justin Kroll, he was from Mart, Texas, and he's a little bit
Art
older than
text.
me. But I played timpani in the Syntax band. I think he was a junior, and that was back when you picked a percussion track to audition for. They still might do it that way. I'm not sure. But it was still like that even for ATSSB. But I auditioned for, I was the timpani player, and he was one of the keyboard players from Mart. And that's kind of where we connected. And we always kind of knew who each other were. And he helped Mart even after he graduated for a little bit. But long story short, Justin and I both went to MCC. He was a piano major for a little while. He went to Baylor. He got a music history degree. But then he actually has a master's degree in vocal performance. He switched from percussion and piano at one point to vocal performance. And now he's an opera professor in Oklahoma. But we're going to get him on the podcast to talk about actually color guard, because he is also the color guard instructor at the university that he teaches that. But that was, a relationship forged in the Syntax Honor Band. And we've just like always been friends.
Can we talk about that for a second? What do you do? I'm the opera director for this.
It's a whole
this
other podcast.
university, but also I do color
That's
guard
why
on
he
the
has
side.
to come. That's why he has to come on the podcast. It's a lot.
There's
to
a
talk
story. Listen, there's a journey. There's a journey.
About. That's right.
Would y'all believe that I'm actually singing in a choir now? The Central Texas Choral Society.
Oh, that's
Oh.
exciting.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is interesting. I was very stressed out at work, and I thought I got to find some music or something. So my first thought was naturally community band. But I'm on the board at my church, and our meetings are on Tuesdays, and have way too many for me to meet the attendance policy. And so I had followed Central Texas Choral Society on Facebook, and I would watch their videos and stuff. Saw a post about auditions, and I thought, well, if you don't try, then the answer is always no. I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? I won't make it, and I'll have Monday night free. And I went, and I actually made it. And it's been really good just to be able to do some music. But I have learned, you sing your whole life one way or another, but I never learned how to sing. And it's just been really very interesting learning about that instrument.
I love that.
Believe it or not. So I'm a choir person. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Aren't you guys singing like a big work soon? I followed them on social media too, but what is it?
It's the Vaughan Williams Dona Nobis.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the MCC orchestra and chorale.
That's exciting.
That's cool.
I follow that on social, I guess that account or whatever on Instagram or something. And so I saw that. I didn't know you were singing in it.
Yes, I am. I'm an
Good for you,
alto
Robin.
too.
That's cool.
Robert, do you have a greatest mentor or a mentor you would like to talk about?
I think I get actually asked this a lot, and it's weird because I think it kind of goes through phases. And, I would like to first say that I think my first mentor per se would be Francis Hudson, who was my very first piano teacher ever. And I started studying with my great grandfather. That then led me into, I think my family wanted me not to study with family, but have a teacher. So I went with Frances, and she was very strict. And I mean, when I say strict, everybody knew it. But everybody studied with her, and she was very sweet though. And I love that woman to death. And and she was also a big reason she pushed me into band as well. She was very much so like, you need to go into band. You're very talented. And so I will say, Frances. Then I think middle school, Robin, and I truly mean it. Robin was really a great mentor to me, and also someone that inspired me, because leaving junior high. That's where I made the decision that this is what I wanted to do. And that had nothing to do with a math teacher or a science teacher or me practicing at home in my room. It was because I was going back every day, and there was someone standing in front of me that I looked up to, and that I was motivated by and inspired by. And so, and Robin taught us a lot, of things. and also really instilled in us the love of just having fun playing music.
Fun.
And so, and I think that's right. And that's one of those small school things that I take away all the time. Like, no matter what, it's not about an award or whatever the case may be. It's about just, let's have fun playing music together, And so I think, Robin, definitely was a part of that. Going into high school, I loved Susan Young. I thought Susan was really, really great. And she was very inspirational too. And I only had her for a short time. And then, of course, and then she went on to Axtell, and then we've kept in touch over the years. And so she has been great, over the years. And then probably, band director wise, since I've been teaching, probably my greatest mentor, in that world is Cindy Lansford. She and I have, it's so funny. I was just sitting at my computer one day. Cindy had just retired from Birdville ISD, and Amy Allison at Canyon Ridge was having her come out, and she needed to fill the day. And she sent an email, and I didn't even know who Cindy Lansford was. I think I'd heard her name, had never met her, never seen her, anything. Right. And so I just responded. I was like, sure, I'll have a clinician. And she always laughs and tells everyone she was late, on the first time she got lost. Because back then where Henry was all surrounded by trees, and you had to go through all these dirt roads and all this kind of stuff to get there. But she and I met that first year, and we connected. And I still remember her calling me in the office that first time, and she was like, well, she's like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, do you want to be good, or do you want to be really good, or you just want to be good? And I was like, well, I want to be really good. And she was like, all right, we'll get your pen and paper out. And she was like, let's talk about what's good. The trumpets are good. Let's talk about what's not good. Everything else. I was like, oh my God. And I remember she left, and I cried, and I was like, were you coming back? And she was like, well, of course I'm coming back. She was like, well, we got to fix these saxophones and these bassoons. But yeah, so those are probably, the four that I feel like have been the greatest mentors and inspiration to me throughout my career. And then what's cool is, Frances has, her time has expired. She's lived her life. And so, but I still keep in touch with, Susan and Robin and Cindy, all the time. And those three people are still in my life. I don't talk to Susan as much as I used to. I think Robin and I both used to talk to Susan a lot. And now it's kind of, it's, come and go. I hear from her every now and then. But Robin and I are always in touch. We go through periods of time where it's like she and I both are heads down, busy doing a million things. And then one of us texts each other. And then it's text, talk, all the things, which I love.
We text a lot during, it seems like Midwest season, because
all the programs. And I'm like, I won't even know what program she's done this program. Yeah. I'm like, Robin, you did this program, didn't you? She's like, I did. I'm like, this is a Robin program. I can always tell by the fonts, because the fonts are always cute.
Well, I did more this year than ever, too. So
yes, they were everywhere.
We're looking at the kerning or something, and it's like, I know this is Robin. Your letter spacing.
I do like a lot of negative space.
You do like a lot of negative space, yes.
It lets it breathe. It breathe. That's the way you got to let it breathe. Everything's so cluttered. Just let it breathe a little bit.
Yes.
Robert, do you have a favorite memory as a band director?
I think it kind of goes I have favorite memories from different things. I think I had a special needs student one time in class that the mother, I had taught the older daughter, and the older daughter was a trumpet player, very good trumpet player. And then they had a special needs child that was coming in, and the mom really wanted the kid to experience band or experience music. And she wasn't sure that the kid was going to necessarily be able to do, his name was Jeffrey. She wasn't sure if Jeffrey was going to be able to be in band, but she wanted to give him the experience, or at least try it for 6 weeks. And I said, sure, let's try it. And I still remember saying, when Jeffrey came in, he was very, you could tell he was very uncomfortable. And I think the other kids around him too were uncomfortable because he was different than them. Right. And they had not been around, Jeffrey in this manner. And, but just watching Jeffrey, and Jeffrey was a slow learner, and, we went very, very slowly, played euphonium. We took our time, and Jeffrey was on his own path than everybody else. So we had our curriculum for what our kids were doing. And then Jeffrey was like, Jeffrey's going to go at Jeffrey's pace, and we're going to let Jeffrey get to where he is. But I still remember at the end of the year, his mom really wanted him to go to a solo and ensemble contest. So I wrote a little solo for Jeffrey that Jeffrey was going to be able to play. And I remember he went to the contest and he played the solo. And when he came out of the room, he just ran to his mom and he started crying. And the mom was like, "What's wrong with you that you feel it?" And he was like, "That was awesome." And I remember everybody in the hallway was just crying because this kid had just come out. And that's the first time, he had his own personal struggles throughout life. So he's never really been good at anything, right? Like he's just struggled his way through school, and in life. But in that moment, I think he felt joy, and I think he felt like he accomplished something, and it was something that he did. And whether he realized that, if that was where his brain was, that's where my brain was. And so that was really special. And then he did band for half of his 7th grade year. And then at the end of the 7th grade year, the parents were like, "We just think it's getting to be too much, but we really are thankful." And I remember when Jeffrey ended up going to, he went through middle school and then he went to an alternate or a different high school. But I remember still getting the invitation when he graduated from that program. And the parents and I went to the graduation ceremony. I actually didn't go to the ceremony. I went to the reception afterwards. And that was really special to see him there. And he remembered me by name. And so that was really special. I think, outside of like teaching and awards and those kind of things, it's those kind of moments that really tug at the heart. And that's what it's about, creating experiences for kids that, that they may not be able to have in any other place. And that's what makes music and band special, is that we do get to create those environments for kids.
Well, and that says a lot. Like I said, what's your your favorite memory or as a band director, and that's the one you went to. Like, and you've had a heck of a career, Robert. I mean, it's not over. I mean, but like how many honor bands have you been a part of in your career?
Gosh, do you have to really talk about it? Okay.
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've won 4 honor bands, and no one on the middle school level has ever done that. I'm just saying that.
Yep. That's okay. We are here. We are here to make sure everyone, anyone who's listening, one, understands what kind of a great person you are, because you are a great person. Like we've been talking now for a little bit. Anytime we've had interactions, you've been wonderful. You've been a wonderful host to the Gatesville Band Program whenever we've reached out to you. And I think that's one of the first things that people have to take away. Like all the people that we've had on this podcast so far, from my feelings, they're great band directors and they've been successful at the things that they've done, but that takes a back seat to the great people that they are. And I think they have great band programs because of the great people in front of them. And like, Robert, I don't care what anybody says. Like, you are one of the best band directors. You don't like to be risen up that way because you're very humble, and I appreciate that about you. And you'll never be one to toot your own horn. But your accolades speak for themselves, and your humility with that speaks even louder to me.
That's kind. Thank you.
So, and I mean, knowing Robin, she wouldn't be consistent in your life if that wasn't true. And those are really the important things to remember, is that like it's about those moments of like I guess sensitivity and vulnerability and what we do, because like that's where you went. You didn't go to like, "Hey, I won all these honor bands and this is my favorite one," or whatever. You went to the kid who finally accomplished something and was proud of the product that they did. And that says
I
a
love
lot.
Jeffrey.
So,
He's so sweet.
all right. So you've won 4 honor bands with Henry Middle School. And how many Midwest performances have you been a part of?
I've been a part of 4 Midwest performances.
Okay, so you've been on quite a big stage 8 times. And how many of them did you take Robin with you?
I think
I went once.
I think one. Yeah, I think one. Yeah.
That's when you and Ryan were teaching together.
Yes. So that was back in
2018.
Yeah.
I think. Right around there.
That'd be right. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite performance out of all of those?
I think, it's weird. Like I think about, my first honor band win is special because I wasn't even 30 yet. And that was what my 30th birthday present was. That's what I remember telling. My 30th birthday present to myself is I won honor band. It's, I'm such a nerd, but that one was special because it was unexpected. Right. And I just worked really hard, and I wanted our kids to be heard, and I was excited for everyone to hear it. And then for it to win was like a shock to me. And I was young. And then I remember standing in the hallway outside of the room and just crying because I was like, what do I do now? And everybody's like, prepare a concert. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was really special. I think the last honor band concert I had with Henry, I knew going in that it was probably my last major performance with them. And so I wanted it to be really fun, and I wanted it to be reflective of the program and what, we had built over the years there at Henry. And so that one was really special. But I still remember at the very end when the kids were standing for the applause, and I turned around and I applauded, and I just burst into tears on the stage, just because I just was so proud of all, and I don't really, I was saying this to a friend the other day. I don't really ever talk about, what the work that I do or how proud I am of myself. But I think in that moment, I was so proud of myself, just because it was like, I knew that I was probably going to be leaving Henry Middle School and going to Vista Ridge, but I was looking at what I had built over the years. And that was something really special to me. And I was able to do the piece that was dedicated to my grandmother, who was monumental in my life growing up. And that piece was on the concert, and the closer was on the concert that was representative of our program. And, I just think that concert was special because of those things, right? And so, but I think every concert is special in its own way because you're sharing a magical moment with a group of kids. And as I tell the kids all the time, no one will ever be able to take this moment away from you. And the experience that we had on this stage together and the music that we made together will be with you forever and ever. And no one can ever take that away from you. And I think that's really special. And I think it really tugs at kids' hearts too. And they realize, like, this is something that we did together as a team, and at the end of the year, that band goes away and you have a new band that comes in, right? So it's just really cool because those relationships that you build and on that journey with those kids becomes really special in that moment. So don't really know if that answered the question, but
That was beautiful. Which brings me to a couple of different things. Why Whitney Houston?
Okay. So first of all, Whitney Houston is my favorite artist. Love Whitney Houston. And second of all, on Fridays in the Henry Middle School Band Hall, I started a tradition, and it was called Dance Party Friday. And every kid knew about Dance Party Friday, including kids that were not in band. And on Fridays, I would shut down the band hall 5 minutes early, and we would pack up all the things, and everyone would be ready. And as soon as the bell rang, we started the music. And the first song every Friday was I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. And all the kids knew it. And I was always on a chair in the middle of the band hall with my pompoms. And I was like singing and dancing. And then as the kids would come in, I would like dance with the kids and like throw pompoms to the kids, and they would do a cheer and everybody. And then like when you get to the chorus, like the entire band hall would be singing. Even my principal would come down and go, this is outlandish and crazy, but I love every minute of it, And so, but it was so special. And the kids to this day that I'm teaching right now, I've always been like, why don't we have Dance Party Friday at the high school? I'm like, we do. It's called getting ready for the game. Now go eat that food. Let's get to the pad and we can get this rehearsal done and go eat some food and get on the bus. But that being said, the reason I did that was because I felt like, again, I knew that I was going to be leaving. And I felt like that was a great representation of what Henry Middle School was, that it was just a great party. Don't get me wrong. The kids receive good information and they are held to a high expectation, but it's all wrapped in love, but we have a good time. And if the kids are not having fun, you have to make your learning environment so fun that they want to come back to it. And they shouldn't want to come back because, oh, I'm getting the best education here. Or, oh, this, oh, I'm getting better. They should come back because they know that it's a place that's really fun and that they're accepted for who they are. And I think that piece just represented what Henry Middle School was, and I wanted to share it with the world. And I thought, you know what? Nobody else is going to go out on the stage and play Whitney Houston, but Robert Herrings is going to go out and play Whitney Houston because that's what we do.
Do you have a favorite Whitney Houston song?
Well, it's I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. That is it. I will be honest. I actually like there's different songs from different albums. So ask me album.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
Now he's talking about the dance parties, and if you were at that concert,
We were at that
We were
concert.
there, yeah.
I thought you were. That program, that one was a fun one to work on because we actually, because they had, been the honor band 4 times in a row, and I kind of knew that maybe he may not be back there. It was not for sure yet, but there was discussion. And so we just kind of really looked at the legacy of the band program. In fact, I think we had a page that had legacy on it, and a lot of the kids wrote like little memories that we published in that book. And I know at more than one of them mentioned the dance parties.
Special.
It's
Yeah.
special.
Alexa, what's your favorite Whitney Houston song?
Oh, it's I Want to Dance with Somebody. We
Yeah.
listened, though, this year, we listened to the Christmas album this year. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
sure did.
we did.
That's a
Robin,
good album.
you mentioned this earlier before we started recording. What's your favorite Whitney Houston?
My favorite Whitney Houston song is I Have Nothing.
Yes, I love it.
Robert, you don't know this, but before you entered the studio, we were jamming to I Want to Dance with Somebody.
I know, I logged on and there was
I had it on the screen and everything. So yeah. We were trying to set the mood.
I love it.
My favorite Whitney Houston is the national anthem in 4/4.
Oh my gosh, yes,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is iconic.
Like there's no other like better national anthem other than Whitney Houston's
Probably not.
national anthem.
That's kind of the standard.
You're right.
It's so good. It's not overdone. It's just, but in 4/4, like who does it in 4/4? She did it in 4/4.
Well, a lot of people do it now, but not
Yeah,
as well.
but not like Whitney though. She didn't go all crazy with the. She did it just right, like just enough to like, oh yeah, that's
That's
what
a
I'm
good
talking
one.
about. They don't make them like that anymore. I mean, we could always talk about the worst national anthems. Looking at you, Fergie.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for that. There was another equally bad one recently. I don't remember what it was though.
Oh, I
I'd
can't
have to look
remember
it up.
either. But the Fergie one hurts me every single time.
Everything about that is painful.
Yes,
The video, like everything.
you don't have to. You could be tone deaf, and
Or you could just turn the audio off and watch the video. Both ways, it's bad.
Man, there's a
And
few.
know that it's not good.
Yeah. You look at the players that the lineups, and they're all like, oof. Okay, so where did the pompoms come from?
Okay, so no, this is serious. On my campus when I was at Henry, I made it a point to make sure I'm a relationship person. And so I really wanted to make sure that I got along with everyone. So I remember at our pep rallies, I would always be jealous, and the word is correct, jealous, of the dance team because they had these like pom-poms and they were doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I want to dance with some pom-poms out there and I want to have a good time. So I bought a pair of pom-poms. I didn't even tell anyone. I bought a pair of pom-poms and I put them in a bag and no one even knew, not even my staff. And then I busted them out at a pep rally one time and the school erupted. And I mean, even my principal was like, what in the world are you doing? And I'm like, what? I'm like, who doesn't have a pair of pom-poms? Like, why isn't that? That's fun. Like, everybody needs pom-poms. And so then it became a thing. And then all the kids, everybody's like, where are your pom-poms? Where are your pom-poms? So it just became something that became tradition, even to the point where I like started taking them to the elementary schools. And they, every year on my holiday tour, everybody was waiting for the pom-poms and the cartwheels. And so,
Okay, wait, hold on. You say cartwheels?
Yes.
Hey
Yes.
man, you're making the rest of us
I know.
look
If
real
you ever
bad.
want to feel like you're doing too little as a band director, talk to Robert only about his pom poms and cartwheels.
I'm telling you what. And then I went to the high school and I went to the first pep rally at the high school. And this is serious. And the entire, like, I'm in there and I'm conducting the band or whatever the case be, and they're playing, we're doing the thing. And you just start hearing the crowd go like, cartwheel. And because all these kids went to Henry Middle School. And so they all knew. And so then I'm like, what? And then my principal's like, are you going to do a cartwheel or not? And I'm like, you have never said. I was like, listen, do I get paid? Because I'm older now. If I break my back, if I hurt myself, do I get workers' comp on this? He's like, no. He's like, no, sir. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I did it. Yeah, the cartwheels are just fun. When the fight song is playing and you get to the last strain at the very end, like, it's when I like run around the band with my pom-poms and then I throw the pom-poms down and then I rile the crowd up and then I run and do a cartwheel in the front and the whole school goes crazy. What? It's fun. It's like a pep rally. Somebody's got to rally the pep.
The cheer team does like their tumbling passes and then Robert's like the next one in the corner.
I tell you what, and then it became a thing where the cheerleaders would we would all do it together. So then and then I started this trend across, and this is really funny. All the teachers started trying to do it in the school, which is really fun. And then my principal tried to do it at middle school. And then he hurt his back. And he was out for like a month because he hurt his back. He was like, I'll be doing no more cartwheels. I was like, David, that's probably a good idea. No more cartwheels for you.
Yeah, trendsetter over there. Like, yeah, seriously, make the rest of us feel like we're not doing enough.
I know, you just gotta have fun. Why not? Just have fun.
So how does that play into like how you've established the culture in your band hall?
I think one of the things that I was saying earlier, the thing about Robin's band hall when we were there is that everybody knew that it was like a safe space and you could be who you were. And, even before we even started talking about those kind of situations, I think Robin built that environment and culture in the band hall that lived on forever because all of us were such surrounded by that. Even after she left, we still kind of created that. We still, as a group of students, still had that same feeling of acceptance and loving of each other just for who everyone was. So in my band hall, I really want to create that same kind of environment. I want kids to know that it's okay to be who they are. And I say it all the time. This class is a class where you get to express yourself differently than you do if you're in math. Math expressions are just what they are, math expressions. But being in band and expressing yourself through music is so different. And we accept everybody for who they are. It doesn't matter, your skin color, your race, anything, religion. It doesn't matter. We all, and I've said it all the time, if you stab me and if I stab you, we all bleed red, right? Doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, everybody bleeds red. So we're all the same on the inside. And so just trying to create that environment in our, in my classroom so that kids want to be there and know that it's a safe space, and even more so where we celebrate mistakes. So yes, we celebrate kids when they do great things, but more so celebrating when they don't do things correctly or don't do it the way you want them to do it, because all that does is help them grow confident and be more confident. And then as they become more confident, they make less mistakes, right? And so, that being said, just creating an environment where everybody knows that it's cool or it's okay to be who you are and it's cool to be who you are. And you're going to come in and we're going to have a great time and we're going to play music and have fun together playing music, and they also really, I think, trusted in the teaching because, kids will respond when you tell them something and they immediately get better. They automatically have a different respect for you. And I think people don't give kids enough credit. They're smarter than we realize. Right. And so, that being said, just creating that environment for the kids where they know that it's okay to be who you are and it's okay to make mistakes and we're all in this together. And if we're all doing those things and being who we are and working hard, the end result is going to take care of itself. And we don't really talk about winning. I never really ever talk about winning. I talk to the kids about creating great performances that they're going to be proud of. And at the end of the year, when you listen back to the tape, I want you to sit back and I want you to be proud of the work that you've done. And I want you to hold on to that for years to come. And when you're an adult and you have kids, that you play it back for your kids and you're like, listen to my middle school band when I was in middle school, something that they have a lot of pride in. And I think we did it. I really worked hard at that. And I felt like we did a good job, of really trying to inspire those kids in that way. So that's kind of how the culture that we want to create. And I think through that culture, we've been able to achieve things that I never thought even myself were, imaginable. So,
Robin, have you ever heard Robert talk about how you were a large influence in the culture that he has established in his band hall?
I have a couple of times. He's always very sweet to invite me to performances and things, and I love even if I can't go to a big performance, like a special memory I have, I think it was last year. Robert actually with his band played a piece that we had played when I taught, and I went to, was that a send-off concert? I don't remember exactly. I'd come to the send-off concert and he brought me up to the stage and introduced me to the kids. He just does that every time I go to one of the concerts, and they're just, they're so sweet. And if I'll design a program for them, before I know it, I'll get one in the mail with all of them signing it and stuff like that. So yeah, he is very kind to speak kindly of the old lady.
Come on.
You're only as old as you feel. So,
and right now, one of the things, I'll share this with everyone. over the years, because I always talk to Robin about the music that I'm going to play,
Yes.
like always over the years. I'm like, I think I'm going to play this. And then all of a sudden she's always like, colonial song, colonial song. That's all she says, colonial song. And then
That's the saxophone
this year,
player in her.
yeah.
I
And
solo on Colonial Song in all region band in like 1981. And it is
love
my
it.
favorite band piece ever. So,
It is so great. So this year, we I was trying to find what I was going to add for the third piece for UIL, and I made the decision to go with Colonial Song. And the first person I text was Robin, and I was like, Robin, dot dot dot. I was like, guess what? Dot dot dot. And I was like, Colonial. So we're doing. I told the band the other day, I was like, we're gonna play Colonial Song, and they love it. Actually, they're doing a wonderful job on it, and they love it. And I said, now this piece is dedicated to my middle school band director. I was like, we're gonna record it and we're gonna send it to her, and they're like, oh, and I was like, yes. It's like it's gonna be awesome. So yeah,
That is so
Thank
sweet.
That is very sweet. What is the largest difference that you're finding out, like other than marching band, between doing the middle school focus versus the high school focus?
I think middle school. Well, I'll say this on the teaching side or the adult side of things, it's managing children and managing humans, right? Or managing adults, I should say. And so I feel like on the high school level, I'm managing more adults and I have more committees and the boosters and the this and this. There's so many moving pieces to the high school that you don't have in middle school, because middle school is just a different beast in its own, in its own regard. I think that high school kids, middle school, one of the things I miss about middle school is that beginner year excitement and just how eager they are to play their horns the first time they open their case. I remember when we name our instruments, and the day we go around and everybody announces the name, and the day I do birth certificates, we give them their birth certificates for their instruments. And, I miss all, I mean, it's a thing, right? And again, you're also teaching them, why would you not love Johnny? Or why would you not love, Nemo, if that's what you named your instrument, right? And so, but it's really special. So I miss the moments in middle school that were those first for them, and the eagerness and excitement. When they get to high school, they have a lot more irons in the fire. They're not so much in freshman, sophomore, as you probably know. Juniors and seniors are a little bit more busier. They kind of have their brains, focused on some things. And, but I do like the musicianship and the level of music that you can play on the high school level that's different than what you do on the middle school level. And it is sure easier to get it taught in high school than, what you're doing in middle school. So I think there's pros and cons about both situations. But I think the biggest difference, or what I missed the most about middle school, anyways, I don't even think that was a question. I think it was what was the biggest difference. It's literally like managing kids or managing adults. That's really what it is. And so, and I actually, one of the things that made me really sad at the very beginning is what I love the most is teaching. And I felt like when I went to high school, I became an administrator really fast. I'm not an administrator, an administrative assistant. In other words, secretary, doing paperwork and pushing POs and doing all these things that had to be done. But it was just so different from the world that I lived in, that even though I had to do a lot of administrative duties when I was in middle school, it was just different because it wasn't on such a large of a scale. So I was able to teach more. So I was in front of kids a whole lot more. I think that was a hard balance for me at the very beginning. I think I figured it out now. I've come up with the schedule where I'm still out and I'm still in front of the kids and I'm still at the middle schools. And, I stay up a little bit later sometimes than I want to in the fall. But it's a balance for me. And I needed that because what I love the most is teaching kids. And unfortunately, the job has a lot of administrative duties to it. But what I love absolutely the most is standing in front of a group of kids and teaching them. And so I think the biggest thing, that would be, honestly, the biggest thing for me. It's fun on both ends. Both of them have their own challenges and both of them are fun in their own right.
Yeah. And when I think some of the best band directors have been primarily at least at the high school level. And I mentioned this in our last podcast, about if you want to really, really learn or understand ensemble sound, honestly, you kind of just need to bring a middle school band director in, because that's all they focus in on. Because if you looked at currently the Leander ISD head director positions, Okay, who's all in there right now?
Well, let's see. I'm at Vista Ridge at Rouse High School. You have Ryan Johnstone.
And what did he do before being at
Yeah,
Rouse?
he was a former middle school band director in Aledo and was very successful there. And then Canyon Vista before he went to Rouse. And then you have Chris Shee at Cedar Park High School. Chris Shee was a middle school band director.
Uh-huh. So
Yep.
there's a little bit of a little bit of a trend there.
Yep. Yeah, all around. Every one of them, all of the head band directors currently have all taught middle school with the exception of one. But that one director, though, has been very involved in his middle school theater situations in the last job that he was in. He did teach a beginner class there. He taught one beginner class and then, of course, helped out there. He didn't actually work at the middle school, but the rest of them, all of them are middle school band directors that have now gone to high school.
So would you advise like new teachers or young teachers to really get into the middle schools more than anything else?
Yes, I think, and I'll be the first one to tell you, when I was going to graduate out of college, the first thing that on my mind was like, I'm going to go teach high school band. Like that was like just the thing, and I think a lot of college graduates, that is what they want to do. They just want to go teach high school, right? And it's the marching band piece of it that's really cool. And they've had that. Some of them have done drum corps, some of them have their own experiences. They've left college marching band, all the things. Um, but I always encourage any first year teacher to go teach middle school first. And I say, where you learn how to really be a teacher is by teaching middle school kids. And then from there, you can go to high school and you're way more equipped and ready to go. And this is what I tell them all the time. Remember, when you get those kids in your fourth band or your third band, because you're probably not going to be the head director your first year out, you're going to teach a non-varsity or a sub non-varsity band. Those kids are going to have already played their instruments for 2 to 3 years before they got to you. And if you're not a teacher, how are you going to have, if you don't have the skills that you learn and the things that you are taught by teaching middle school, how are you going to help those kids continue to get better? Because you yourself are still trying to grow and learn. And I also think understanding the instruments is really important. It's not just about waving your hands around, on the podium. It's also about how are you going to continue to grow a kid when they get into your program on the high school level. And I wouldn't tell anyone, go teach middle school. That's where it's at. You're going to learn so much, and it's okay in those cases to make some mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And it doesn't really affect, the whole big program right from the very beginning. Whereas some of those mistakes at the high school level can really, have some negative effects on the back half. The other thing I would tell a first year teacher is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. I think the one thing that I have learned over the years is I've always said this, anytime I feel like I'm in a room and I'm the smartest person, I'm in the wrong room, right? I need to be in a room where there are smarter people than me that I can continuously grow and learn from what they have to say. And when I am sitting at a table and there are a lot of people that I really respect and know that I'm going to learn from, I actually don't talk very much. I listen and I absorb the information, and then I take that back and I process it and figure out how can I take that information for my situation and apply it to my situation, or what do I need to tweak because it may not work in this the way he did it there, but I think that this would work in my situation by doing it this way. And so those would be the two, things. I really do think, and I've always said, I also think student teaching should be a full year. I don't think it should be a semester. I think it should be a full year.
I agree with you.
Just to give the experience, because we all know college does not really set you up for your first year to be able to walk into a classroom and start a beginner class, or to walk into a high school and run a marching band program, right? It just doesn't set you up for that. So I think having that full year experience really gives you practical application of the entire year. Sometimes they come in the spring and they're like, well, how did you get them to that point? It's like, well, this is not what we sounded like in August. In August when they played their first note. On the flip side of that, kids get to a point and they see that, from the fall, and then they get to the spring and they go, well, I don't even know what to do with them in the spring because I only saw it in the fall. So I think having that full year experience, I think is really, really, really special. But I don't have a music ed program yet, because that's on my bucket list. Someday I will teach college and I will set these kids up for success.
Well, I think it would be great. I mean, honestly, this is a hot take. There's a new dean of music school at the Baylor University, which is your alma mater, Sikkim Bears.
I know. I feel like we need to do a Sikkim right now.
Yeah. And he is quite a cool guy. He's younger than both, I think, the past like X amount of deans.
Why we know this is because Jose talked his ear off at the
I
Baylor
sure did.
reunion, and he was very receptive. He was great.
A cool guy, just like really
Wow.
down to the earth. And I bugged him about a music education program. And so like you would be someone who would be like a great resource of like, hey, we have a mentor like observation person in the Austin area, and it's Robert Herrings. And everyone would be like, that is fantastic. That's exactly who we need watching over our future music educators. I mean, that's kind of the truth.
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
I mean,
It's on my list. Don't worry.
so that'd be great. Is there any one instrument that is your kryptonite?
I think at the very beginning, I'll be honest, I was actually, this is going to sound crazy. I was scared of double reeds. And I think it was just because it wasn't like clarinet or saxophone. It wasn't like a brass instrument. It was like, what is this thing? And how do I make this sound not like a lawnmower, or a dying cow? That's what I always say, right? But no, I think all of them, I've grown to love them all. And I think as I became a better teacher at them, I grew to love them more, right? And again, I'll tell anybody, one of the best things I've ever done over the years is every summer I would just pick up an instrument and just play it. Like I would just and try to create sounds that I heard kids were making, right? And like, oh, maybe they're putting their tongue at the top of their mouth, and maybe they're doing this. Right? So I would like write these things down of all the things that I thought kids might be doing, and then I would get better at playing the instrument and study, deeper than what I did in my methods classes at Baylor that were very short, right? To grow and get better. And I had friends that played the instrument. So I would call them and say, hey, I'm experiencing this. What can I do here? Or, hey, can I come have a lesson with you and talk about these things? So I think over the years, I've really grown. I've really gotten to know the instruments pretty well and feel pretty comfortable teaching them all. But I think at the very beginning, I did oboe bassoon were my kryptonite forever. It's just like, I just don't know what to do with this thing. And I'll be honest, and anyone who taught me, they'll tell you, I was not good at bassoon. In college, I made a C in that class. I had to retake it, and I was just like, I was not good at bassoon.
What's
I
hard?
just did. It was too many thumbs and when to flick and when to, whatever. I'm like, give me 3 buttons and call it a year.
Robin, do you have an instrument that's kryptonite for you?
I'd probably agree. Although you would think being a saxophone player like I am that I really would be a lot better at any of the woodwinds, but I'm terrible at woodwinds. I'm a whole lot better at brass. I'm probably awful at flute, believe it or not. I mean, it's so similar, but in some ways. But yeah, I think I should have been a brass player.
Is flute yours?
Oh, flute is definitely
You're
my
pretty good at
kryptonite.
saxophone, though. Flute, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people, flute is its own beast.
Yeah.
It is.
I had Mrs. Shanley as my flute
Yeah.
person.
Helen Ann.
Yeah, Helen Ann Shanley over at Baylor. And I this is a story. I'm being a tuba player, like my airstream was pretty wide set. So I had a hard time just focusing
You
it.
have big lips.
I do
too.
have big lips. It's a family trait. So she would poke us in the stomach with her flute. And I absolutely hated that. And one day I guess I was in a bad mood or I had enough of it. And she went in for a poke and I swatted her flute away because I did not appreciate
My God.
being poked. She was like, I was like, I don't like that.
You're like, I'm so sorry.
I was like, I'm soft in the midsection, lady. I don't need you like showing everyone that I got a little extra cushion right there. I don't appreciate that.
Like, I don't need you to point it out.
Alexa, would yours be oboe?
No.
Because
Close,
really?
but no cigar. Yeah, Dr. Deloach told me that I'm not physically capable of playing the oboe. But it's actually clarinet.
Really?
Yeah, I made 1B in college, and it was in clarinet methods.
Oh, I made a whole lot of B's.
Clarinet's hard.
Yeah,
Clarinet's challenge.
I don't know. I think part of it for me is like just how my hands are, and I don't know how 6th graders do this, but just covering the holes on the instrument, and then I just can't. I don't know. That's just I was better at oboe, even though Dr. Deloach told me I was
physically. What kind of a comment is that? You are physically unfit for this
the reason she said it wasn't an unkind comment, but we in oboe class, and I think this is great. She would have you play your like end of semester like jury piece for the class, and not every class did that. But in her class, it was a good environment and supportive, and she had everyone play the oboe for each other. And so I played mine, and it was awful. And afterwards, she said, "Alexa, I can tell that you prepared. You were just physically incapable of playing the oboe."
Okay,
Aw.
so you're telling that story, and it does it no justice unless you do it in the
Alexa,
there you
You gotta,
go.
yeah. You gotta get it. Alexa.
I can tell you prepared, but you're just
Uh-huh.
physically incapable of playing the oboe. She was wonderful.
Oh,
But
she was
I
great.
love
yeah, I will.
Doris.
That was one of the biggest quotes I took away from my college experience. That I should never play the oboe, but really I should never play the clarinet.
Oh my goodness. I've heard stories about Dr. Deloach and how she would be like, "Wow, that's just awful."
Yeah, that should tell
Just
you
like
though.
the nicest person, but just
Yeah.
that was just awful.
She was just honest. That should tell you how bad I am at clarinet.
Oh man. Robert, is there a mistake that you've made as an educator that has made you a better one?
Gosh. Oh, well, I mean, I think it's natural for teachers when they don't know what to do to either get us frustrated or upset with the kid or blame it on the kid for not being able to do something. And I think when I realized really quickly, like, Robert, you're upset because you don't know how to fix the problem. Do it again is not how to fix the problem, right? And I think a lot of people get into that. We'll just do it again. We'll do it again. Well, what do you want them to fix, right? And I think when I got to that point, I think that was really, really good. I also think when I learned also how to communicate with parents in a way that I think I didn't at first. And so I was always scared of them, or I would bow down to them, or they would push me over. And I think when I finally learned how to like stand on my own 2 feet with parents while still being respectful, but helping them understand my situation in our classroom and why it is the way that it is, I think that made me a better teacher as well. So, I mean, those are really two that I kind of think of, off the top of my head. I'm sure that, listen, I always apologize to that first group of kids that I ever taught. I always say, listen, I'm sorry I screwed you up, but I was just learning. I was just trying. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. That's a hard one for me.
I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes, that's for sure. I mean, but I think talking to parents, I think is a mistake that not that it's a mistake to talk to parents, but it's a mistake in the way you approach parents.
Correct.
And I think
Yes.
that's a huge thing specifically for younger band directors, because the older we get, the more you realize that all the parents of the kids you're starting to teach are your same age, or if
Yes.
not younger.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps change a few things versus like they're almost these parents are still like people you look up to as far as age, which
Yes.
can be difficult. I mean, I've been left behind before. So is Alexa.
Like by a bus.
Yeah, by a
Oh yeah,
bus.
I've been left by. That's like a percussionist thing, I feel like. But yeah, I've been left by a bus. I was busy loading
I've never left a
equipment.
kid, but yeah. Never
That's
left.
that's like a fear of mine.
I know, like
Mine
leaving
too.
scores.
Yeah.
Not having enough
Oh,
scores for contests.
Now I have done that.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, I have left my scores at school, and it's talk about panic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I bet. Brian Sauer said this when we talked to him.
Robin, is there a mistake you made as an educator that made you a better one?
I've probably erased them from my memory, but I can guarantee you there were several. This is not a specific mistake, but I'm going to go back to what Robert was talking about not being the smartest person in the room. And I would say one thing that I wish I had done differently is I was not good at asking for help. And I don't think it was an ego thing or anything. I didn't know how to go about it. I was fairly reserved, introverted, not particularly thrilled about calling somebody up, which when I was a young teacher was the only way you could get in touch with them. We didn't have email and we didn't text and all that stuff. So I do wish that I had been better at asking for help when I needed it. And, I knew when I didn't know something, and I wasn't afraid to say I didn't know something. Well, probably at first I probably thought I knew it all, but um, I guess as someone who has been a teacher and then never really felt very good at it and gotten out of it because of that, I wish that I had done more to make myself better.
Robin, did you have any big mentors for you, especially when you were like a young teacher first starting out?
Not really, and some of that was because I didn't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
When my first job, the first 4 years I taught, there were different high school band directors each of the 4 years.
Wow.
So, there was no consistency there. Um, and I think even by the time Susan came along, which I'd been teaching there probably 7 or 8 years already, by that point, how do I say this politely? They were having me do other things like teach reading and pick up the attendance first thing in the morning and do more study halls than band classes.
They were
Yeah.
doing things to drive the passion out of you.
Yes.
Yes.
And even though Susan and I were both there, we were hardly ever together. They would have her at high school doing, something like teaching reading
Uh-huh.
so even when I had my classes, she couldn't be there with me to help me. Uh, so unfortunately, I don't know that I really did have a mentor, and I didn't know how to ask for one.
Honestly, Robin, I think a lot of people probably can resonate with that, whether they're young, like a young teacher just starting out and they feel the same kind of way. They just don't know how to ask for help. Or if they're someone who's been teaching for a while and they're like, yeah, like I am by myself in this situation. And I never really had any mentorship. So I feel like that would resonate with a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
in small schools.
Make
And-
yourself do it. If you're listening, it's I would guess it's easier now. You can
Yeah.
text people, you can go online, and I know it's easier to do when you're a little more anonymous, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. Heck,
But
message me and Jose and we'll get you set up.
yeah, I mean, the moment you decide you're too smart or you know everything is the moment you stop becoming relevant.
Relevant.
Relevant?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
No, I know what you meant. No, and I agree. And it's like Robin said, I think Robin brought up a good point. I think sometimes, especially young teachers are just afraid to ask for help. And I tell that to all of my young teachers that I come in contact with. And especially when I do like Conselmer, and I go to these conventions and I do that. It's like, do not be afraid to ask for help. And I think sometimes people are just afraid of feeling like, I hate to use the word, but like some people say, well, I just feel stupid if I ask for that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You can't feel that way because that's what this is about. Like we should help each other and you should reach out and ask for help because you should want to do that because it's what's going to be in the best interest for your kids too, And so, but Robin's right. Like it's hard. I mean, I just think some people just just are afraid to reach out and ask for help because of how people are going to perceive, and I think that's a big thing.
when really most people want to help,
Uh-huh.
I think, I mean, I love it when, I mean, not in the band world, obviously, but, when people ask me for help, I want to help. So I guess, I can't think of one standout error that I made, although I know there were some, but that's probably my biggest regret is that I was not better at asking for help.
Well, that's why, like, even these like fantastic QBs, like for the NFL, they still have QB coaches. Like Tom Brady still had a QB coach that he worked with personally, like all the time.
Yeah. And he's the GOAT.
Yeah, and he has more
Not
rings
Billy,
than
but-
not Billy. Yeah, I mean he has a ton of like championships to prove for it, and I mean there was also sort of a little bit of cheating that went along with that. But who am I to say? So, Robert, apparently you have a wonderful singing voice. Can you sing us something?
Oh,
Don't put this man on the spot.
I'm going to.
what am I supposed to say?
Well, apparently you have lyrics that you like to make up along to your band pieces and that resonate all throughout the band hall.
Listen, I think I'm just gonna say this. Anytime that you can put words to what the kids are playing, they buy in, they love it, they get it. You can get them to shape phrases in ways just by singing it in a way and putting words to it and have them sing that.
Okay, so you're playing Colonial Song. Do you have any
Oh my
lyrics
God.
for us for Colonial Song?
Stop. I'm actually not. You're not going to make me sing right now. Uh, but yeah, I do. I do. Now I feel like I'm going to, and how do I know these are good microphones? I have to make sure that I sound good.
We can edit it in post.
Yeah.
It's fine.
What march are you playing?
We just submitted for Midwest, and so with the high school band, and some people might think that that's crazy. I felt like when I got to the high school, they needed a goal, but I think when I got there, the kids just needed something to grab a hold to, and so I said, okay, well, we'll take for Midwest, right? And I honestly, if I'm being completely honest, was going to tape and not even turn it in. And I thought, well, they won't know the difference, right? Like, we just worked towards this goal, and I'll just tell them we didn't get in. But then, the kids worked really hard. They bought into the process. The band really turned around. I think, for those seniors, they had 3 head band directors in 4 years,
that does a certain amount of damage within itself. It doesn't matter anything from your previous director or the previous director to that. Like, no one likes change like that, especially with a critical role as the head director. So to be on your 3rd head director in 3 years, like that's going to mess with the program no matter which way you swing.
Beginning of my career.
Yeah, it was, Robin.
Yeah.
So I think, well, anyways, so by doing that, I made the decision to take from, I looked at the band and I thought that this group of kids played the honor band concert, and that group of kids, taped for Midwest, like I was like going through and I was like, so these kids, the one thing they all have in common is they all work together in middle school for a goal. So I was like, so we need a goal. And so the goal this year was like, let's just tape for Midwest. And they were all on board for it. Even the seniors were all in. So we're doing Hands Across the Sea, which is really good, I think. But, and then Colonial Song. And then for our Midwest submission, we submitted all of Symphony Number 3, Slavenskaya. Which is, yeah.
And you're telling me you don't have any lyrics ready for me?
Listen, I sang a lot of lyrics. Oh, getting these kids to do all the things I need to get them to do. Let me just tell you. No, I feel so, it's like it comes in the moment. You're like, you're there, you're like teaching, and like it comes in, but it's always about your mom
organic.
and dad. I love my mom and dad. It's always about loving mom and dad. Of course, I like to pick on the kids about their boyfriend and girlfriends, but that is another thing, like singing in love, or singing a song about someone you love. But maybe at the end I'll sing for you.
We got to turn on some wind here.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't band, and I think you've touched on this a little bit earlier, what would have it been?
Gosh, there are a lot of things that I was really interested in. Like I definitely loved music and loved teaching, and I knew that was kind of the direction I wanted to go. I was never really, I liked computer stuff. I wasn't involved in the computer stuff. I didn't feel like I had that computer mind brain, that some kids or students do when they're in the computer thing. I think they thought that they would, be really good. I initially wanted to be a pediatrician. Just going to be honest. Like that was the big thing. It was like pediatrician. And after pediatrician, it was like lawyer. And then I was like, I don't think I really want to be a lawyer. I think I'm going to be a pediatrician. And then I went down this little bit of a road of being a vet. And I was like, I think I want to be a vet. And then I joined band. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to be a band director. And so that's kind of what I would probably do now. And honestly, if I were to leave teaching now, which I'm not because I can't retire yet, but I would just be a clinician because I think that's what I would really enjoy helping. I really do find joy in helping others. And I do help a lot of people, and I do not want them to, I don't need the recognition. Like, don't put me in your program. Don't post it on Facebook. That kind of stuff. That bothers me. And it's almost like, I don't know, it makes it seem like that I want people to brag that I was that. I don't know. It's just weird. I think it's myself, but I just really like to help other people. So I think it's just really fun. I think I just have a helping heart and spirit, I guess, so yeah.
What's something you like to do to unwind that is not attached to band?
Okay. All things aside, I love Bravo TV. And I am a Housewives fanatic, and I watch every franchise. I'm just going to tell you. I can tell you what happens on I've seen every season of every Housewives, right? So even the kids laugh at me and they're like, Mr. Hanks, you're weird. I'm like, okay, let's not talk about weird. But yes, I love the Housewives. I also really love to cook. I'm very big into, I have a lot, if I like zoomed it, not that this is going to be seen by everybody, but I literally have so many kitchen appliances. I mean, I love cooking. I love trying new recipes. I also have recently gotten into canning, which I think has been really cool. And I think, Robin, I might have told you that a while back. But I've started getting into canning, and so that's really cool. And tried new things, and I tried canning some things. And I was like, that's gross. I'm like, no, don't can that, But no, that's been really cool. And also, I do like movies. I'm very into movies. I'm really into documentaries. I think that's really cool. You can learn so much. I think that's really intriguing. And I also love documentaries that are about things that it's almost like you're going to have random knowledge that you may never use, but you have it. And so then in that moment, when it comes up in trivia, you get it right.
Speaking of canning, I hear that you love pickles.
Oh my God. I literally, did you talk to Kat Norris? I bet I love pickles. Literally
too.
love them. I eat them every day. I'm serious. There is not one day that goes by that I don't have pickles. Not one. And I have it like with breakfast food. I have it at lunch. I'll put it on a salad. I eat pickles with everything. It's just, why not? Who doesn't love pickles?
That's salsa. He loves salsa too.
I do love salsa. And I also make my own salsa now, trying all these new recipes. I'm telling you, I'm a cook. Like, you got to try things. It keeps me busy. Gets my mind off of, all the things that aren't, that are stressing me out at work.
Yeah. What kind of pickles do you do?
I'm a dill pickle person.
Dill pickle.
Okay. I do like bread and butter. I think bread and butter are good, but I really love dill pickles, and I love to make them with all different kinds. I try different spices in them, and it's cool.
Is there a brand you lean towards, or do you?
I mean, I like to make my own, but I'm a best made for chips, Vlasic for dill.
That's the right answer.
I mean, for spears. So best made for chips. And then for the spears, the Vlasic Zesty is my favorite.
We've been venturing out into like the pickle world. Like, what did I just pick up for you? The Texas barbecue.
Those are the HEB brand Texas barbecue ones. But what Robert said is exactly true, because I love pickles too. The best made chips are the best ones on the planet. Like, because I buy everything HEB brand. Do not buy the HEB brand Dilly Me pickle chips. I will tell you right now, that's not it. That's not where you find it. It's the best made chips. Sorry.
What's one of the other? There's several other brands. Like Nathan's has one. Yeah, McClure's.
Has one. McClure's is the bougie one. He has that video of the guy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
There's like the YouTube video of the McClure's guy tasting each pickle and telling you what's wrong with it.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen that video?
I have not seen that. No, but I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that whole entire thing.
I love the like charcuterie gherkins. You could buy those in like the olive section with the cold section at HEB.
Do you like capers then?
I do love capers. And I put them on salads, and I bake with them. I mean, I cook with them, and especially with butter and wine, and so good.
I love this is an odd one-ish, but I love pickled okra too.
Oh yeah.
I love pickled okra.
Okay. This is terrible. Every night before I go to bed, I will go to my refrigerator and get it. I literally have one pickle okra every single night before I go to bed. And then I brush my teeth, and then I go to bed.
I think we're like soul sisters or something, because that sounds like something I would do. Oh, I love pickled okra.
I love pickled okra.
Anything pickled, honestly.
Our daughter really likes pickled okra.
Yeah, she does. Have we talked about how Jonah has trust issues with pickles now?
No.
Oh, well, okay. So my son, they both like pickles. Don't get me wrong. However, they stayed with my parents, and my parents offered them pickles, and they were bread and butter pickles. And Jonah tried it, and he was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever had in my life." And so he loves pickles though, but he knows now to ask if anyone gives him a pickle. He says, "Are those sweet pickles?" And I'd say, "No, they're not sweet pickles. They're dill pickles." And he says, "Okay, I like those. I hate sweet pickles." And then he says, "Elmo and Pops gave me sweet pickles once." And so that's what he just has, like a vendetta. He's like, "One time they gave me sweet pickles," and he's never forgotten it. So every time someone hands him something pickled, he knows to ask, because it was that traumatic of an experience for him.
Core memory right there.
Yeah.
So is there a favorite spot you like to go to for food in Austin?
Well, I'm kind of weird because I really kind of stay north a lot. I don't really go downtown hardly ever, just
Okay,
because
sorry.
too much traffic.
The greater Austin area.
Okay, everybody knows that there are two places that I eat Chuy's a lot. Like, everybody knows that. Like, that is just the thing. And I know it's a chain and it's everywhere. But I love Chuy's. It is just one of my all-time favorite places to eat. And I think it's just, I don't know, when I very first came to Austin, I had Chuy's for the first time and I fell in love with it. And it was just one of those things that was like, oh my God, I love Chuy's. I like the Oasis a lot, which is out on Lake Travis. I think that's really beautiful. It's like the sister restaurant to Chuy's. I really do like that place. There's a place downtown that I do love called Huero's. I really love Mexican food. Like, that's my all-time favorite food. And
people in my culture just call that food.
He says this all the time.
I do.
I love it. But yeah, Huero's downtown is very, very, very good. And then there are like a couple of places, like there's a restaurant in East Austin that I really like, and there's one down south down that. There's a place in Fredericksburg that I like, but there's a couple like little spots that I don't go to a lot. But those are the places that I go to probably the most often.
What's your Chuy's order?
Well, it kind of depends on the day. Right now, I've been recently, because it's been cold, I've been doing the soup because I love their tortilla soup. I think it's really great. Chicken boom boom enchiladas are, you gotta have those. And those are my thing on there. Then sometimes I just do the taco salad, which I really love. And they used to come in the shell, but I taco salad, no shell, and I do salsa or salsa fresca as dressing. I didn't get a dressing, so because I'm a salsa fanatic, right? But 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna get the chicken boom boom enchiladas with Mexican rice.
Robin, what's your favorite restaurant?
La Fiesta.
Oh, yes. I've been to La Fiesta
Yes,
with
that
Robin.
place good.
It was a good time.
I do like.
They have good margaritas.
Yes,
Okay, so do you like spicy food then?
I do.
I like mild spice. If it's like too spicy, I can't do it because it'll burn my. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on fire, and then I'm like sweating. I can't do this. But I like mild spicy food, medium mild. I just don't like it super hot, but I do like spice. Yes.
Okay. See, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't like.
No one said anything.
Yeah,
to
but
you
I feel
about
judged every time for my Hispanic heritage when I'm like, no, I don't like.
This is like a topic where we start talking about it, and it's like you can't look at Jose, you can't make eye contact.
Yeah, because I don't want to pay the price for my food.
No one said anything.
Just like
on every episode.
It probably has, because this is a very sensitive subject for me.
For you, yeah.
Yes, it is. My goodness gracious.
I love it.
So is there something you would like to bring back from like the past that is like sorely missed by you?
It's a good one.
Example, we brought up Snick the other day.
Oh yeah. Nick at
Okay,
Night.
yes.
Nick at Night was another one.
I said Beetleborgs.
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 Dunkaroos.
Oh,
was another
gosh.
one.
I feel like
I did like Nick at Night. Nick at Night was fun. You remember that show called MTV Raps? Do y'all remember that show?
Yes.
Maybe you don't. Y'all probably. Do y'all remember that?
Yes.
I loved MTV Raps. It was so fun.
MTV Raps.
MTV Raps. And you know what's funny? Sometimes I'll walk through and I've done it since middle school. Like, I'll walk in and the kids will be like, the kids like, hey, Mr. I'm yo, MTV Raps. And I'm like, you remember that show? And they're like, what? I'm like,
What is
you don't know that show? I'm like, and then I'm like, y'all don't know anything. And I like walk off and the kids are like, you're old. And I'm like, whatever.
They're like Googling MTV Raps.
Do you remember like the VH1 like bubble things?
Yes.
Where they would have all that information in the music
Yep.
video. Yeah, pop-up video. That's what it was.
That
Man.
was like the precursor to the QR code. I feel like.
Yeah, really.
Or
Really?
what was the show that Carson Daly was in charge of?
TRL.
TRL.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's something else that like was like great.
That's like a whole like side of culture that is lost on today's generation. They have it in different ways, but that's not a thing.
I was like, I remember when MTV started. I mean, like they actually played music then.
and I can't tell you the last time I've seen a new music video. They still exist. Where am I going to go to YouTube and watch it? I don't know. Just see clips of it.
Would also like to bring back cheap gas.
oh,
yes. Okay.
I'll just tell you what, my first car I filled up for 84 cents a gallon.
Oh,
mm.
Yep.
That
That
hurts.
hurts.
That hurts so bad. That
Yep.
hurts so bad.
Still remember
Do you have a bucket list piece of music you would like to perform?
the Firebird, and I really love it, and I'm afraid of it. The other piece that I really want to play there too is Appalachian Spring, and it's so long, and it just takes so much. I feel, every time I even talk about that, I feel bad. I'm like, Robert, that is not a piece that high school kids or middle school kids, obviously, should be playing. But I really love the Firebird, and I really love Appalachian Spring, and I would love to play them someday. I think Firebird is attainable. I think Appalachian Spring is attainable to high school band too, but right, it's just got to be in the right setting. Can't do it for UIL because it's too long, right? But the Firebird, I love it, and I'm deathly afraid of it. I don't know why. I think I've looked at the score so many times. I'm like, oh my gosh, these key signatures. But outside of that, those are the two that I'm like, can't wait to play. And I hope to play one of them. And I always say, if I ever win 6A honor band, I might actually program Appalachian Spring. So,
Is there a piece of music that you feel is undervalued? Or you wish that it was played more often?
Blue Ridge Saga.
Oh, no.
I love Blue Ridge Saga.
Like,
I do not think that piece is played enough. I'm just
Exaltation.
telling you.
Jesus just played that one for
Yes,
UIL.
Exaltation.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. The man said Blue Ridge Saga.
Listen, I absolutely love Blue Ridge Saga. I think it's great.
Do you have a piece of music that is the bane of your existence?
There isn't anything that the year that we did. Now, let me just say this. Before I say this, I was crazy to even think about programming this with middle school, but I did Sleep by Eric Whitaker at middle school, and it was a nightmare. It was just too mature for them, right? It was just too hard, right? And we worked and worked and worked, and it was the COVID year. That was the year I was doing that piece with Festivo and I think it was March of the Belgian Paratroopers or something like that. But it was so awful, and I never felt like I could get it right. It was just hard. The choral transcriptions for the band world are just challenging, right? And any transcription is challenging, because especially when you're putting strings and winds, that's really hard. But that piece I love the piece, and I would do it on my high school level. And I think it'd be perfect on my high school level. But when I was in middle school, that piece drove me crazy. It was a bad pick on my part. Just really bad.
Do you have a favorite March composer?
Sousa.
Mm.
And I will live and die by Sousa. I love Sousa marches.
Me too.
I love a lot of marches. Don't get me wrong. I love Spanish marches. I love Paso Dobles. But if I had to pick a composer, it would definitely be Sousa. And I've probably heard every Sousa march through it. Ever was very good.
Do you have a favorite Sousa march?
No, I actually have like 5 favorite Sousa marches because I just love so many of them. Right?
It's March, so
go,
the time
go.
is, yeah.
Well, I who doesn't love Stars and Stripes Forever? And I think in 2014 I did that, and I think what made it special is the piccolo stuff I really love. I also love the arpeggiated trumpet stuff that I thought was really cool, and like how he modulates that through. I thought that was really neat. Who also doesn't love Washington Post, right? Like, it's just a staple in the literature, and that's the thing about Sousa marches. They're staples in our work, in our society, right? And so that's one of the things that I really do, and I just go, oh my God, like I just love this so much. So those are probably my 2 favorite Sousa marches. I do love Hands Across the Sea. I've always loved Hands Across the Sea since I was a young kid, because it's tuneful and kids walk out whistling it, and it's something that you're going to remember and that you can come up words with, and all that kind of stuff. It's just really fun, and the kids love it, and they like sing it, and they're like bopping around. I'm looking at high school kids, being happy and bopping around, acting like middle school kids, because they just love the piece so much. So I really do think that is really special. I also like, oh my God, of course I just drew a blank. Has all that opening hard arpeggiated stuff that I love. But it's so hard. Like, that is so hard. God, well, of course you asked me, and I can't think of it. You keep trying to get that. I'm gonna think of it. Anyways, Robin, what's your favorite Sousa march?
Yeah, what is it?
Or who's your favorite march composer?
I don't know. You've named some good ones. One of my favorite marches is Valdez.
I do love Valdez.
I love Pare Doble.
I like that one too. That's a good one.
You got to do the ending fast.
No, those are. I don't. I kind of agree with the ones you mentioned too. So
Trying to think. I'm having to look this up really quickly because now I'm mad that I can't remember the name of this march.
Jose, is yours the Thunderer?
My favorite Susan March is the Thunderer.
Is that your favorite march?
No, I think Entry March or the Gladiators is my favorite march.
I think
Rolling Thunder. I love that one too.
Rolling Thunder's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I just played the Thunderer for UIL.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So
mine is National Emblem, which okay. Hold on.
Yes.
Give me a second. This Sousa is my favorite march composer. That is not a Sousa march, but that's still like my favorite march. I love Stars and Stripes Forever, but El Capitan also.
Capitan, yeah.
The one that I had stuck in my head forever was King Cotton, which I did last year.
That's a good one too. What other ones are there? It's March Madness right now.
Yeah,
so this is
it
a
is
very
March Madness.
timely topic.
I love basketball.
I know.
Yeah.
We should talk about that, Robin. Do you still have season tickets, Robin, for
I do.
Baylor basketball?
Yeah.
We haven't been to the new arena.
Oh, you need to go.
I know. Jose brought it up. He's like, maybe we could go.
Well, hey, the Lady Bears are supposedly going to host.
Oh,
really?
Maybe we could go.
Because I think they should be a 2 seed, and they'll probably be you have to be like a top 4.
Didn't they lose in the Big 12 championship to TCU?
Yeah, both times.
Oh gosh,
frustrating.
3 times.
Both times? 3 times?
Yeah, they played for the Big 12 regular season championship, and then they won for the Big 12 tournament.
What is the girl's name that transferred to TCU?
Oh, Van Lith?
Yes. Tell us how you feel, Robin.
I did.
She's like, that's all you need to know.
The composer
field the team.
Yeah, the bane of my existence, composer-wise, is probably almost anything Percy Granger.
Yeah, you're not a Granger.
I love Percy.
And I think we've talked about this before, but only Percy Granger pieces can get the tone qualities out of Percy Tone Granger pieces. You know what I mean? Like you need the double reeds,
the colors.
The ensemble.
We don't have all the color instruments.
We don't have all the color instruments. And so you
have to have.
Yeah. And then me personally, like I was a tuba player and just like the parts for anything Granger is not very interesting for that part of the ensemble.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Everybody else, if you're a clarinet player, sure.
Play some Molly on the Shore or something.
Yeah. Or,
I love Molly on the Shore.
I mean, it's nice. I just just like after a while, I'm just like,
yeah. That's super.
Okay. It's Hail to the Spirit of Liberty.
Oh, all right.
I love it. And it's so hard. I'm just going to talk about it because I looked at my list. If people have not heard On Parade March by Susan, they should listen to it. It's really fun. It's got a lot of trumpet in it. It's a great way to teach articulation. It's hard. George Washington Bicentennial is so freaking hard. I tried that piece in middle school and I dropped it on the I was like, well, we can't do that. Okay. All right. Let's put that away. I like that. And then Rifle Regiment, of course, is, a favorite of mine as well. But
there are so many good
I listen to Sousa all day. I just listen to it all the time. I just have a Sousa playlist. And they come on and I just tap my toe. Glory to the Yankee Navy. I'm going to win with that, by the way.
Can you like literally listen to a Sousa march and not be like automatically music. Like happier? Yeah. It's just like not.
I just love it. I love it. Makes me so happy.
I love marches.
There is one Sousa march that I'm like, okay, this is a little bit much for me. It's that Mother Goose. Have you ever heard that one?
Oh, I've played Mother Goose.
That one too.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah.
Ironically, the last piece of music, and I say this ironically because it's not something that they typically play, but the last piece of music that I ever played with the Baylor Wind Ensemble was a Sousa march.
Which one?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, is it Easter Monday on the White House lawn?
Oh, yeah.
I love Easter Monday.
Yeah. I played the xylophone part, and I remember that because it was hard.
It is hard. That march is harder than people realize.
Yeah, that one was hard. Then that was the last piece I ever played with Baylor Wind Ensemble. Yeah.
That is a hard piece.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one
though.
I think that one's it's not underrated because people play it, but it's not like on somebody's top 10 list.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's weird because it depends on what organization. Some people don't even consider the standard march, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, that's why I think it gets overlooked. So
Yeah.
I
it
like
does,
a
for sure.
good non-standard march though. Something that's a
Mhm.
little bit
Like
different. Well, like the whole singer,
Which one?
Cluster Fluster Bluster
Oh, okay.
March.
Oh yeah,
It's weird. I like it. It quotes Rite of
You've
Spring.
played that one before.
yes,
I've
it
played
does.
it, and it's just odd, and
That one's a good one.
I like it. Things that are
You
just
do like odd marches.
like Ives. If I could play more Ives stuff, I would. Just
Who
because
wouldn't?
it's
Too
odd.
many problems. Too many minor seconds for me.
You're right. You're right. But man, there's just some of that stuff that's just great. What's your favorite genre of music outside of band?
I'm actually very into like pop music. I know that sounds. I mean, maybe it doesn't sound. I'm not really a fan of like rap music. But pop music, R&B is okay. Believe it, I think where people really get shocked is when I tell them I like country music. They're like, what?
Oh,
I'm like, yeah. Now I don't like that old like that country music. Like, my wife left me, put my stuff on the curb. I'm gonna, I'm not. That's not. I'm
are
like,
you
no,
listening
no,
to
no, not
that?
for me.
She thinks my tractor is sexy.
I do like that song though.
Well, you grew up in
No, I
McGregor, so that would fit.
I did. Listen, I grew up with like Travis Tritt and Billy Ray Cyrus,
Oh
and
yes.
that
Oh,
was all
yes.
hot when I was
Did we
young.
play that back in the day? Achy Breaky Heart?
Achy Breaky Heart, we did.
We did.
We sure
Wow.
did.
There's the beginnings. Well, Robert, is there a Dairy Queen in McGregor?
There is a Dairy Queen in
Oh.
McGregor. Or it used to be.
Oh,
There
they're
is.
still there.
We go there all the time.
Yeah, yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a Blizzard order for Dairy Queen?
Well, you know what? I've tried like lots of different Blizzards, but I'm always going to go back to the Snickers Blizzard, and I get it every time.
That's a good answer.
That's a good standard.
I don't think anybody has said that yet.
I don't think
And
so
that
either.
is underrated.
Robin, do
Yeah.
you have a Blizzard order?
I haven't had a Blizzard in forever.
We'll have to go
used
get
to
one.
they used to put Heath bars in Blizzards, and that was
Mhm.
my favorite. But
Yep.
they don't do that anymore, so now I got to settle for the Butterfinger.
I think they do.
I
Jose
think
got
they
me
brought
one
it
recently.
back.
Oh, did they?
Oh, did they
Yeah,
really?
They
You're
made
gonna have
that-
to go.
She's like, well, maybe we should have a date at
Yeah.
Dairy Queen.
I'll meet you at the McGregor Dairy
Oh,
Queen.
you don't have to ask us twice.
Just name a time and I'll be there.
Well, just check and see if they have Heath, and I'll go over there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they do.
She's
think
like,
I
let
saw
me
it
know
on the-
before I drive there.
on the menu.
Yeah.
So, Robert, we also hear that you're somewhat of a love guru and that you are a matchmaker. How many couples have you matched out?
Oh my God, let's see. One, and then those two, and then I married those two. And I have probably, so in my group of friends or people that I'm close to, there are 5 couples that I can tell you right now that I like said, you two need to be together. And I'm like, you should go on a date with him and you need to give him those type of things. And then, so there's probably 6 couples. And then I have 2 groups of friends that we just, because I am trying to set those 2 up right now, and I think it's gonna be really good. So
do they know? Do they know you're trying to set them up?
I think one of them does as of yesterday. I think it became like a like a, are you trying to set me up with him? I'm like, me? No. I was like, I just think that you should just like, y'all should talk.
Yeah.
Like, hang out.
Come hang out more.
Listen, Kat and Kyle, I remember telling Kat, look, I was like, Kyle, I was like, Kyle, when are you gonna ask her out? Like, clearly you two deserve it, and now they're married. It's just like, I know. So I just kind of see, like, I don't know, this person, and you just kind of go like, I think those two, that's going to be a good match, And so anyways, yeah. I know it seems weird, but.
So Kyle and Kat. So actually Kyle's going to come do our sassy camp for us.
Listen, Kyle's awesome. When you see him, tell him that I say, Robert Herrings told me to call you Kiki.
Oh, my.
Because I call Kyle Kiki. I'm like, hey, Kiki.
Well, so we're leaving that into the podcast. And so therefore everyone can call Kyle.
Everyone
Kiki.
should call him that. He's going to be mad at me, but that's okay.
So Kat and Kyle, is there any other couples you'd like to shout out real quick?
Brandy and Hector. And funny thing about that is, never mind. Let's just say Brandy and Hector. I don't want to talk about how they got together and how the thing, but I remember telling Brandy, like, girl, we're like on a band trip together. I'm like, girl, that boy is cute. I'm like, if you don't get him, I'm like, it was an adult, it was a parent at the time. I'm like, that boy's cute. You need to get over there and talk to him. And then Julia and Jason, I think is really good. I love them. So those are the top three that I really, really love the most. I think are so just wonderful. I've been really good. So,
do you have any advice to any of our single listeners?
I think, I have a friend right now. I have a friend right now that is going through the whole dating thing. And, I feel like, he is struggling a little bit through it. And one of the things I tell him all the time is like, you just you need to be your authentic self. And I think what happens is people try to be somebody that they think the other person wants them to be. And then, so they're not truly being who you are. And so be your authentic self and love yourself for who you are. And it will all take care of itself from there. Then you'll find the right person. But if you don't love yourself for who you are, and if you're not being your true authentic self, then you're really not allowing people to see who you really are. They're seeing someone that they think that you are. And so then that's why I think a lot of relationships don't last. I think people are not truly who they are from the very beginning and allow that to be what brings you together. Not, I created this person or created this image of who I am to try to make this person be more interested in me or whatever the case may be. And then sometimes they just don't, go down the right way. And, don't get me wrong. Listen, I say it all the time, physical attraction is a thing. Like you got to be physically attracted to them. But if that is the only thing going for you, and I always say this, we're all going to get old and the body's going to change. Everything's going to look different. But if you don't love who they are on the inside, then it's not going to last, right? If it's only a physical attraction, then so you got to love who the person is on the inside, because at the end of the day, looks fade, but who they are on the inside is who they are for the rest of their life. So
that's such good advice.
It is.
Ugh.
It is.
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, I think that's all I have.
Robin, do you have anything else?
No.
Robert, do you have anything else?
No, I just thank you guys for having us on here. It's so special to be on here with Robin.
Ugh.
So neat, and just so I hope this is really helpful for everyone. I hope that we were able to share some things with them to help motivate and inspire or teach someone something. I think that's the big thing, which is the purpose of podcasts like this, to continue to grow our profession and grow people. So hopefully, there were things that we shared here today that will be helpful, especially to young teachers as they come out into the profession. And again, if I always say it, if I can help anyone, let me know. Like, I love helping people.
And it just kind of close it out. But once again, like the impact we all make on students, like we never know what the end product is going to be. Yeah. And, the effect, everyone that we've kind of talked to has been a product of like some small school things, except for like one or two. But even Mike Howard, do you know where Mike Howard went to school?
Small town. It was
Hondo, Texas.
Hondo. That's what it is. Yes.
Hondo, which is a 3A school. And then I think Jeremy Spicer went to Floresville.
He did.
Which is another small school.
Yeah.
So the small school culture and aspect is something that should not be slept on as far as what it can build as far as future educators and just future good people. So, and you are very, very much a product of that. I mean, you were a good person, a heck of a band director, that's for sure. And we are glad to have had you on. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. You're kind, and I'm truly honored to be here. So thank you for asking.
Thank you to both of you.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was so fun.
I'm glad you guys have fun. Jose, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We out.